How's it going, everyone? Today I wanted to take a break from the battle reports and focus on ways to improve your game, focusing on turn 0, so before the game starts with the asteroids, and then different openings with different builds. And hopefully, especially if you're starting out, hopefully there's some information here to help take your game to the next level. So when you're starting out and people are recommending who to listen to or what to watch, the gold standard has to be 3-time world champion Paul Heaver. And he has done several articles, and I'll place links. He's done several articles, but today I wanted to focus on turn 0, and that is his recommendations for asteroids. So with it, he says, as a rule of thumb, the more ships you have, the less you want asteroids to play a role in the match. Said another way, if you have a TIE swarm, you don't want asteroids to play any role in the match. And if you are playing against a TIE swarm, then you do want the action and you want to take them into the asteroids. You want the asteroids to be in the middle of everything. So with it, he kind of takes both examples. If you are not wanting asteroids to be a part, then you place your asteroids, your first one you could put in your corner, say the second one they put there, third one your other corner, and you do your corner because you can control yourself, you can't control your opponent. So if you have all the asteroids throughout here, then your TIE swarm could start here and then zoom past. The game is going to be taking place where there aren't asteroids. And as opposed to, say you place it in their corner, then they can build on it, they can put their asteroids throughout here, and they can kind of go slower and try to take the match, or try to take it slow to where when action actually starts happening, when you start fighting each other, then the asteroids are right in the middle of everything. And as the TIE swarm is needing to turn around, they are needing to turn around through the asteroids. With that example, say you place yours here and they place theirs here, then you would want to put it in the opposite corner. You wouldn't want to put it in that corner because that's where everything is. You're wanting the asteroids to be really spread out, and just so that they're easy to dodge and maneuver around. And alternatively, if you are wanting the asteroids to be all throughout the center, then one thing you can do is, it has to be out of range 2, but then you make it within range 1 of that, so that as you put your asteroids through here, then they can't put their asteroids in their own corner. See, you went here, he went there, then you go here so that he can't go there, and then he's forced to be here, and then it's just more, the asteroids are more in the center, which is easier to have the fighting take place in between. He also talks about you don't want to do vertical or horizontal or diagonal lines, because if it's straight, then it's easy to have all your ships go around. That's why you'd want to put just off at a 20 or 30 degree angle, just because it's harder to maneuver around. And that's pretty much the highlights. It's a really short read, so definitely go through it. Can't get better information than that, so I just wanted to quickly go over that. So here I wanted to take an example of, his name's De Boer, maybe that's how you pronounce it, and he has Soontir, Vader, Inquisitor. So he has 3 aces, and right now that's a fairly common build in this meta. This is just a really good example of how to start out your game with 3 aces, and I was debating whether to do some bad examples with some good examples, but I decided I'm just going to focus on good examples. So here, he got a place. Let's see. Well, he got to see where Biggs was before anything. So with the asteroids, I believe De Boer did is in the center because he wants, I guess these guys are more maneuverable, and Franz wanted them just in his own corner, or in the corners, not in the middle with everything. And from here, De Boer, he knows that Franz is either going to turn hard in and go through here, which is definitely going to be more difficult than just going down this line. And so with that, we'll kind of speed through. He decides he wants Soontir to kind of be through here, Vader to kind of be through here, and Inquisitor to just kind of stay around here and then go through here. And that's assuming that these guys are going here. So he turns hard with Inquisitor because Inquisitor can kind of turn around easy. And Franz is going pretty fast. He's going 4 forwards. And Inquisitor did a hard or a soft 1 and then barrel rolled. And this is just a really good example because, let's see, how close was he? Because with triple aces, I watch people play triple aces and they have all their aces together. And that's just not how you do it, because he's going to have all of his ships go after one of them. And once that happens, then you want the other 2 to just be in position just to punish them. However, if you have a bunch of your aces together, then it just makes it easy to just turn it into a joust. So he's playing the range game pretty well too. Just really spread out here. And Soontir is going to get some shots on Biggs. Gets 1 damage through. And yeah, Soontir's not going to have to worry about that. Range 3. So Franz has to make a choice. And if he's going to go after Soontir, then these guys are going to be in good position. If he's going to go after Vader, then he has the rocks, and these guys will just be able to attack him from both sides. And if he goes after Inquisitor, then Vader and Soontir are in good position. And Franz opts to go after the Inquisitor, which this move right here is also really good because Inquisitor does best at range 3. So now Vader and Soontir are in great position. Inquisitor can deal good damage at range 3, as well as he has auto thrusters. So just all around really good start by De Boer. And if you are doing triple aces or even double aces like palp aces, then that's the same type of, those are the same principles that you want to keep in mind for that. Next example is when Paul Heaver won his 2nd World Championship with Han and 3 Talas. He gave a very detailed explaining of his matches and his openings, and it's been over a year, so I'm just doing this by memory, but if I remember correctly, it was something like he had his Talas off on the side, and he would have them go, I believe, forward 2, and then this one would just turn in 2, and then from there, they are able to, yeah, they're not going to hit if they bank. And so they have, he wanted his Talas here on the side, because if he has some ships coming in from this side, and say the battle's coming here, these guys are moving up here. By the time he gets here, this guy can now not really turn around because he's going to be off the map. So that was his reasoning for having him off on the side. And then what he would do is have Han just kind of go right through the middle in the asteroids. Paul would just go right in the middle of the asteroids, and that was pretty much the gist of what he did, but it obviously worked out well for him, so that's just another example. Also, I definitely need to go over the pinwheel formation. It's basically how you can have your ships so close that when you are firing, all the firing arcs are in the same place, but you are able to do, obviously, hard turns. It's going to be just 90 degrees, so they're going to be safe. But if you turn at an angle, 45-degree angle with the banks, that they also won't bump. So you set your first one wherever, the other one will be about halfway through there, and then the other one, the nubs are just inside of each other. And if you do that, then no matter if you do banks, it doesn't matter which way. If you do banks that way or, whoops, I hit the wrong button, you will be okay. So if you have 3 ships, then that's what I recommend. The 4th ship, I'm just going to manually have them barrel roll there. So that's where you could go. You could just have all your ships go like, 4 forward on the first one. And as this guy goes here, he's going to barrel roll right into position. So then you are in the pinwheel formation. Obviously, if you don't have barrel roll, then you would have to figure out how to do a hard turn. And I did that, and I'll show you that example later. But with TIE fighters or anyone with barrel roll, it's a bit easier to get into that pinwheel formation. Here's an example of a game that I watched today. I saw that it was posted. I think they finished it yesterday with BMF versus Phildo. And so this is just with any 3 large base ships. And as you can see, he's just going to stall on this first one. So he will, Phildo kind of did the same thing. And from there, and he was, so you have to see exactly where he was. So he was just off to the side of that nub, but a 3 bank works, and then a hard one works, and then a hard one there works. And from there, obviously, if you don't have the stall, then you couldn't do this next move. But anytime that 2 large base ships are together, you can also know that, see, they're right next to each other, a 3 bank and a 1 bank will be okay. So, and then from there, if you have something that can stall, then hey, that's a really, they're at an angle, and if this asteroid wasn't there, then it would be just about perfect. And yeah, it's just example, things like that are some little things that, really can make the difference in how your game goes. So it's good to be aware of different options. And here is another example. This is Mr. Sunal with his triple jumpers. And from there, he did a 1 hard, so he's just barely in front. This guy's 1 hard there. This guy just bumps. And then the next one, these guys are going to go a bit, that guy's just going to go forward and barrel roll. And then these guys are going to stall. And so just a couple turns in, and he is still in the corner. He's going to know right where J-Chav decided to pretty much do a bunch of stalling of his own. So it's not like he knows if the other people is coming from here or that way. But that's a good way to start. And also, this is just for triple jumpers where, let's go forward a bit more. If you start off on this left side, remember the lefts are, they turn left very well. So if you start on the left side, you're going to be turning in. 1 hard turns are still white, so it's not like it's red or anything. But if for some reason you wanted to do a K turn, and that K turn was good because J-Chav kind of took that bait of thinking that he was going to be there. He turned around, and then now that 1 hard is going to be green, so all these guys are going to be kind of in good position for this game. I'm just going to skip forward. He's going a bit slower than I thought that next round was going to be where the action takes place. But yeah, I think that you get that example of different ways to start with some large base ships. This is the squad that I did for my first store championship last year that I ever won. It was Tarnation, Tarn with 6 Z's, and I got this opening, the idea from Dom. And what you do is you have all your guys lined up like this, Tarn in the back, in the middle, and you can have these 2 go forward 3 or 4. You could do, it doesn't matter, 3, 2, 1 or 4, 3, 2. And then for banking, these guys can go, you know, 1, 2, and then 3. And he just kind of follows path. Anyways, and also what you'd need to do is, because if your asteroid is placed right there, then that's going to get you in the way of it. So if you place your own asteroid right there, then that means that, you know, they can't place it in that corner, and then you just kind of have to hope that they're not going to place theirs like right there or right there. Otherwise, that just kind of throws off that opening. But that's one example you could do for a swarm. Oh, also, there was one game that I wasn't thinking. I think it was like the second game in, where I lined up my guys on the side, but I did it in that same order, or same, whoever's on this outside. All right, sorry for that. So there was one game that I placed them all on the wrong side. This guy needs to be the up one, and this guy needs to be the down one. And so it took a couple rounds of me to figure out and get in position. So this guy, I needed to think like 1, and he goes 2, and this guy will go 3. No, I didn't think about that. That guy goes forward 2, and then this guy goes forward 3, and then this guy goes forward 3, and then this guy goes forward 4. So I figured it out, but it was just kind of funny. It was just something that, oh, I didn't even think about that. That was the first time that came up. So this next opening is really good for a 7 tie swarm, and I got this idea from Tex, and I used this to win the Utah Cup. I went, I think, 12-0 or 14-0 with it. And what you do is you just have the front 2 with 1 space in between, and then I place this guy first and make sure that he's just in the middle of both of them. And then from there, 1 space in between, 1 space in between. And then you have all these guys go forward, say 3 or 4, whichever. And then you have these guys go 2 or 1 less, and then barrel roll into place. And, you know, you can place them about there. 2. And then from there, you're able to, I mean, that's just kind of intimidating. That's lots of ships together, and I don't know why it's not working. All right, and then you can turn and not have to worry about, and say you want Howl Runner to maybe be this guy, and just because he'd be in the back, and he's in range 1 of them all, so that would all work. So I think that's the best way to do that one. All right, here's another example of a last store championship that I won. I was actually able to go through all of Swiss without losing a single ship, which is probably my greatest X-Wing accomplishment. Yeah, I don't know how I did that, to be honest. But it's a Z, 2 Ks, and a stress bot, and these Ks have Tactician and TLT for the double stress. But it's pretty much obsolete now with U-boats. But anyways, this works for any 4-ship Rebel build, and I'll show you how to get into formation, into that pinwheel formation from the start. You can basically, you just use these guys like so, and I put him in back because I want him to be the furthest back. That way, if I bank in, the Z will be leading the way, these 2 Ks will be in the middle, and then he would be in the back. That's why I did it like this. And you need this side to be the halfway through, because if you do it on the opposite side, then he can't really turn in. So that's the logic for that. But you put those guys, let me zoom in just so you can see. But it's a bit less than that. And if we have this, it's gonna be, yeah, it's gonna be about that, I believe. So with that, you can go forward 2, and then you can do a 2 hard turn, and yeah, more or less gets you there. So from there, from there, you can have all your guys kind of turn in. And what I would do is, like, say if he goes 4, then these guys, oh, that's right. Then these guys can go 3, and then he can go 2, and then if you're going up against someone who's kind of here, you would like it about that, because then he's range 1, these guys are range 2, and he's range 3. In that tournament, I was able to do the range game pretty well throughout, and these guys would cause so much stress that I wouldn't even do double stress on his first pass. I might give a single stress and then go forward 1, and then he would be able to do a K turn to then dish out a lot more stress. So that was my strategy pretty much for that. However, that brings me up to a point that I wanted to talk about. All right, so I want to go through the rule of 11, and that means if you are starting off on your side and they're starting off on their side, you have 11 ship spaces before you will be in arc of each other. So here, say you're starting right here, that's 5, 10, 11. Now you'd finally be able to have range of that person. So you do have to be sure to count your own ship length to that, because you're moving the distance. So if you did a 5, well, then you'd end up right here. So then that would really be like 6. So you count your own. So for example, say these Z's they go 4. You know that if you go 4, then you have to count yourself. And so that would be 5. And if he went that speed, then you know that you wouldn't be in distance of each other. So there we go. There we go. And you're just out of range. So that can come in handy in whether you want to be in range 3. If you're a ship that does a good job at range 3, 2, or 1, that's something that you can keep in mind. From there, say you went forward 1 and he goes forward 1. A good piece of information, and this is from Mr. Sunal, little trick that you can check out in both Vassal and Tabletop play during the combat phase when you use your firing arc to check distance also. For example, a 4K and a 4K flip, but you can do the same with banks and turns if you know the distances. At the end of range 2, or the start of range 3, is exactly a 5 ship base sizes in the front of your ship. So a 4K with a small ship will completely K-turn within range 2, with the nubs just landing in range 3. A 4K with a large ship will land exactly half at range 2 and half in range 3. Similarly, a 5K with either ship will be completely in range 3, starting in the range 2 to 3 border, with nubs just in range 2. This is most useful when jousting, especially if you are moving first. When you shoot, check to see your opposing ship is completely within range 2. If so, you can definitely fit that 5K turn. If they move first, you need to account for them moving out of the way and the possibility of them bumping their own ship to stall or block the K turn. So that, I think, is pretty brilliant. I never heard that before. So from here, say you can see that it's all the way within range 2. So you would know that unless you had a 5K, that it wouldn't quite make. Or, I mean, if you did a 5K, then it would make, but anything less than that wouldn't. So that's something that you can keep in mind. So in this tournament, that range, the rule of 11, here's a real world example of that rule of 11 applying. I went up against crack shot glitter stim robots, which can be devastating to my list because, especially if they get that target lock, then they have a really good chance of dealing 8 damage with the crack shot. It would be guaranteed damage with my 1 agility ships, and it would for sure go through. So, and they do best at range 3 because they have auto thrusters. They also have heavy laser cannon. So I knew my original start of going forward 2, that would be 2, 3. So that would be 3 for me. And for them, it would be they can only go forward 3, so that would be 3, 4, 5, because you take into account their 2 ship, because they're large base, and then they can boost for another 3, the boost, and another 2. So they can do 8 in and of themselves. So if I did a 2, which I normally do, then these guys would be in range, and my stress bot would not be in range, just because of how I like having stress bot in the back. So I actually thought of that beforehand when I saw that he was jousting with me, and I opted to just do a 1 forward, and from there we're barely out of range, and then that means that my Z can then go, and if you're counting right, then you know that the only way that if I went forward for 4 is anything other than a 1 forward would bump me, and I think he did bump me. So that is an example of knowing when that rule of 11 can make or break that game. I think if he was able to shoot and deal like 8 damage to this K-Wing right from the get-go, and I couldn't double stress him, then it for sure would have been over. But so that's that example. This is another thing that I've done in the past, where I've set the asteroids 1 away from the 2 edge, this one the same, 1 away from the 2 edge, and then this one just as close as I could to the others. And I had 3 ships, and I would go forward, and if we were going to meet in this direction, then I knew that if I went forward 1, and then if I banked 2, then I would have like a direct path right through there, and it would just be, I would know that, especially if they had a lot of ships too, that my direct route would probably be a lot better than their route, and just knowing beforehand that if I had the asteroids there, then that would work. So things like that you can just kind of see beforehand. And you know, I'm going pretty slow, I'm going 1 and then 2, so if they're going somewhere else, then you know, I can adapt to it. But that's something that did work out for me, so thought I'd share it. And this is kind of random, but I had a lot of fun in one game, so you could give it a try if you wanted to. But with 3 lambdas with electronic baffle, which makes it so if you get a stress that you can just take a damage to discard that stress, so that you can either keep stalling, or you can, so that you can have actions too. So it was something like this, where you place your lambdas first, and then say they go there, and you put your soon tier about here. Well, then they start going forward. Let's say you have this guy stall, so that gives him a stress. You have, I mean, whatever you want. You could have this guy stall if you wanted to, and you could have this guy go over on the side too, so now he's stressed. And then you could have him go, and then Soontir's turn, you could just have him go here. And then the next one, he just does a 1, so he loses that stress. And then he goes, say, I don't know, I think 1. I don't know if this is going to work. Like, I had smaller asteroids there, but I had a really small asteroid there. And then they go forward 2, and then these guys are going forward, you know, like 3. And then the next one, I went there, and he went like 3. Anyways, and then Soontir was long gone. But it was just funny because the entire game was just throughout here, and lambdas at range 1 or 2 with electronic baffle, so they get their action, and then Soontir to clean up. It was just kind of a fun game. So that's kind of random, but that's just kind of a fun thing that you could do. So we've gone through a lot of different openings, different options, but I do want to stress the point that you shouldn't always stick to your plan. Oftentimes the best thing to do is to react to your opponent, to have a reason that you're doing things. I think that's one of the biggest differences between some of the top tier players is they have a reason for doing all the moves that they do, all the openings that they do. And the more you play, then the more experience you have, and the more games you watch, then the more you can learn. So hopefully that helps, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.